Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. Thanks for skipping lunch and probably some roundtables at the Cutler's Hall and screenings to be with us here at, I think, a very fascinating and important session. My name is Manu Winkler. I'm working for Documentary Campus, and as you can see, we are partnering with Sheffield Dogfest for many years now, for 6 to be honest, on the sessions program, and we have the privilege of bringing you topics to Sheffield that are relevant for an international audience, and because of that we are also in the position of bringing you speakers, panelists and experts and filmmakers who come from many different countries to share their insights and experiences with you guys. And I just want to say I'm here after the panel also to talk to you if you have any kind of questions about Documentary Campus. If you don't know us, then please feel free to come up to me and talk to me. I'm here today with another organization, with Heidi Kronauer, who is the head of the Selig Film School in Bozen in Italy, Bolzano would be English, and also the director of the ESODOC training program, and I think she will say a couple of words and introduce the panel. Thanks for being here with us and doing that for so many years.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Manu. Indeed, we are another training initiative from the media program that is called ESODOC, and we are really collaborating since many, many years. We have done also sessions together, and it is always very, I think, very inspiring to bring filmmakers together to work on their projects. So ESODOC is indeed a project that tries to bring together documentary filmmakers, producers, activists, NGO workers. We have journalists, we have designer, because we try to concept a training where the different competences work together to use media for social change, to develop together the projects that can be linear, that can be cross-media, that can be interactive. The important thing is to find the right format to reach your public. So we call it a cross-thinking workshop. Sometimes people come to us with a linear documentary project that then becomes a web project. So it's like to bring together different competences and try to think your project in a different way. The workshop in itself, it's a project development workshop that is articulated in 3 one-week sessions. So there's a lot of time to get your project to the point. We have a final pitching session. We have online sessions, of course. And and the important thing is to work on the impact and the outreach of your media project. And with this topic, I want to pass over the word to our head of studies, Sabine Bubeck-Paaz, who is since last year the head of studies of ESODOC. She's also commissioning editor of ZDF ARTE, has done a lot of also cross-media projects for the channel, and I want to pass over to her to present the panel. Have a nice and interesting and inspiring afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, I take this one? Okay. No, you don't take this one. Okay, I take this one. So thank you, Heidi and Manu, for this introduction. A very warm welcome from my side also. I'm very happy to talk about, to present you a panel and an issue which is really in the middle of ESODOC, you know, because it's about storytelling for social change, for positive change. And maybe that will be an issue also, because, I mean, it's a big word to say that we are telling stories for social change in a time where informations go so quickly within seconds from one side of the world to the other, and where we are all confronted to very extreme, more and more extreme, it's my impression, more and more extreme forms of life and religion. So that opens a lot of questions for us people who have to do with documentary storytelling. I mean, what does it mean to live to work in such a world? And what does it mean for production, for financing? And what can we do to keep close to our ethical values, and how can we guarantee these documentary values in this world? So we invited three documentary filmmakers here. That I think all of them made in their work very surprising discoveries and were challenged by unforeseen issues, and they all dealt with it in a different way. So we have to my right Tonje Schei, who created international awareness about the CIA drone war and about the militainment programs that brought war into our daily lives. We have to my left Dahr, with the help of Kisilu, a Kenyan farmer. You will meet him. We got to understand the human impact of climate change. And to my left, far left, Arash, Riahi, I think that's the right pronunciation, with the cross-media project Everyday Rebellion. You take us in the middle of happy activists and their strategies and tactics, which were interesting for you. I would like to, before we go into the presentation of each project, I would like to invite you just to give us 3 to 5 sentences about yourself. Then we will start with Tonje, then there will be Julia and Arash. Please keep your questions in mind, write them down, so after the presentation we can start, hopefully, a very lively discussion. Okay? So first presentation round.
Yes, my name is Tonje Schei. I'm a director from Norway, Volt Film. I've worked in independent documentary since 1996. I've lived in the States for 17 years. I think most of my work revolves around issues around human rights, information control, and more I'm becoming obsessed with how technology is redefining what it means to be a human today. And I also seem to be obsessed with, the power structures that sort of control us. And I think we were all going to introduce ourselves. I think that's good. You can ask me questions later.
So my name is Julia Dahr, and I'm also from Norway, Norwegian director and producer from Dahr Media. And I've been working with films over the last 10 years, making things mostly on social justice, human rights and environment, and also a lot in challenging stereotypes. And I think the whole thing about storytelling for change was what kind of got me interested in making documentaries in the beginning. That's where my passion is.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Arash Riahi. I'm born in Iran and left Iran with my parents as a kid, as a refugee, and we arrived in Austria. Since then we are there, and I'm producing, directing and doing dramatic advising, and I'm trying to not lose the connection to my culture, whatever culture that is a mix of all things that is around me, and and the project Everyday Rebellion is reflecting this, and I will tell you more.
Okay, now I would invite Tonje to start with her presentation.
So I'd like to start by just giving you a little bit of background information on how I got involved in the drone issue, and then I'd like to take you on a journey of how we went about bringing this film out to a pretty big audience worldwide. But I got the idea for a drone while I was working on my last film that's called Play Again. And I was living in the States. And Play Again is about how teenagers are growing up behind screens. And I came across a story of a gamer who dropped out of high school and joined the military. And very quickly, he was put to be a drone pilot because of the skills he had learned from gaming. And with very little training, he then at 19 became an instructor for other drone pilots. And to me, the whole notion of kids basically going from getting points per kill to killing real people on the other side of the world with the same kind of joystick and the same kind of interface got me, really concerned and scared for what kind of warfare this was. This was in 2010. It was right as Obama was ramping up the drone strikes, especially in Pakistan. And I had been a very big fan of Obama, and to see how he went from the promise of closing down Guantanamo and stopping torture to simply killing people with a push of a button, with no transparency and no accountability outside of declared war zones, made me pissed off enough to make drone. So at this time, I had just moved back to Norway. Nobody in Norway even knew what a drone was, and had no knowledge, really, what the CIA drone fair was all about. And the big challenge for me was, to think about how do you bring a big political issue like this out to as many people as possible, because to me, bringing the information out to tell people what was going on was so important yeah. I mean, really, we set out with a very, very ambitious goal, because our goal became very quickly that we had to stop the CIA drone strikes, which is a pretty ambitious goal to be a very small Norwegian film company. So pretty early on, and I started this developing the idea with ISODOC, and can't say enough good things about this program. It meant so much for me to start with support and an international network of mentors, and just learning how to to bring a film out to like this into life. So, but. Very early on, I realized that we had to have a drone pilot. We had to tell the story of a drone pilot. What did it mean to actually kill people with a joystick? That was the story that most Western people that we were pitching the film to were curious about. They wanted to invest in it, and they wanted to, to see it. And at this time, not many drone pilots actually spoke up. Most of the information that was out there was from the U.S. Air Force media days, where you just get the propaganda version of what was going on, clean warfare, surgically precise killing, and we never heard about the post-traumatic stress and what does it really mean to kill with a joystick. And being a Norwegian filmmaker, getting access to the U.S. Air Force is almost impossible. And I don't know how many times I've left messages with the Pentagon, different voicemails. But then Brandon Bryant spoke out in Der Spiegel. And it was something about his story that moved me so much, and I really wanted to tell his story. And after Brandon spoke out, he was going through a massive media hunt. I mean, people showed up to his mom's doorstep in Missoula, Montana, from all over the world. And he basically went underground for a while. But we managed to get in touch over social media after many, many months. And we built a trust over 9 months. And he realized that we wanted to tell the whole story. We wanted to get behind the tabloid, news headlines. And Brandon has risked and risks everything by standing out. Since 2011, he's pretty much been the only voice from the inside of the CIA drone program. And working with him has been hard. His life has been ruined by this. He's a broken soul. And he takes responsibility for all the people that he's killed. And when we met him, he was, had severe depression. But talking to us, it was something where it was this relationship that we started building where we realized that we really wanted to accomplish the same thing with this film. And he was so pleased when he saw the final version and decided to come on board and take a very active role in our impact. So that's kind of how our relationship started. So I think, that was Brandon's story on one side. And of course, for me, my sympathy in this issue has always been with the people in Pakistan, the victims of the drone strikes. And it was at the same time we wanted to tell Brandon's story, we also wanted to follow people that had survived drone strikes and lost loved ones to tell their story. And we ended up in this very interesting, dilemma: is where do we put our focus when we sell this film? How do we get it out? And by focusing on Brandon's story, some of the attention on the victim's story at the outset got less attention. But we realized that in order to get this film out to as big of an audience as possible, we had to sell the drone pilot story first, because that's what people identified most with here at home. So Brandon, during this process, received pretty, harsh feedback in social media and got regular death threats. After speaking out, most of his family turned their back to him, and he lost most of his friends. So he's been very alone throughout this whole, since we met him until now. And last year, he actually got the whistleblower year of the award in Germany. And this award has previously been given to Snowden and Manning. And for Brandon to receive this award all of a sudden gave him a bigger platform to stand on. And he got more verification that other people were listening, and not just the media. And this kind of became a big shift in our process too, when we released the film, of him actually traveling, speaking out more, and how we use the media as well to back him up. Another thing, every sort of turning step when we were about to release the film, the FBI contacted Brandon and said that he was on the FBI kill list. No, the ISIS kill list, sorry. And for a while, we were, what should we do? Do we need to lay low? Should we delay the release of the film? But this is a common strategy from the FBI, the scare tactics. And luckily, Brandon also saw this, and his lawyers also said, this doesn't have anything of value to it. But they tried several times. They also threatened his mom when we were about to release the film in the States, that she was on the ISIS kill list and that Brandon should get off social media and stop talking about the drone issue. So that's some of the tactics that we were up against. Let's see. So for us first to come out with a political film like this, and to make an impact, the international teamwork was incredibly important to build up a network around the film. And going up against the CIA and the US authorities with this issue, of course, the investigative research took an incredible amount of time and a huge international team. And we worked very closely with the Bureau of Investigative Journalism and several NGOs and foundations that are working on this issue. To figure out, how to map out the issue, how to explain this issue, and simplify it to an international young audience, and still being on target, so to say. So during the production, we came across some very sensitive information, and we actually found the name of the CIA squadron that flew the drones. And none of us had ever, been involved in anything around the CIA before, and to figure out, what are the risks that our characters are taking, but also us as a film production company, when we out a whole CIA squadron, all of a sudden became a pretty heavy burden. And we decided to start working with The Guardian, and to build a media partnership with them was crucial in this situation. So they did more thorough investigations to back up our characters' information, and then right before our premiere on ARTE, The Guardian came up with an article about this CIA squadron and about the film. So that made us feel safer, also because The Guardian has a policy that before they release information, they contact CENTCOM and the CIA. So then we were we got to know where they were standing, and of course we knew that they knew about the production, but what would the next steps be? And we got a very strong message to pull the article back and to not release the film, but at the same time they didn't convince The Guardian or us that any of the information in the film was making the security of the U.S. or endangering their situation or anything. So. So when we released the film, it first came out as a television version, and then we decided to make a theatrical version to bring more attention to the issue. We also ended up with pretty unique access and information that we felt needed to come out also in the cinemas. And for us, this is kind of the backwards way, I guess, to release a film. But it ended up being very, very worth it, because when you come out into the cinemas, you get so much more attention in the media, you get reviews and so forth. So this was a very important part of our outreach campaign. And one thing that I think that for me at least as a documentary filmmaker, I really love to work with other industries or branches within our field. So working with people in the fiction film industry has been important, with the PR people. And for us, we really wanted to make a film that appealed to a young audience, because the gamer aspect of this and how gamers were being recruited as drone pilots was also another very, very important part of our story. So we decided to make a poster and a trailer that was cut almost like a fiction film, and we used this graphic designer to sort of make our brand, so that people would recognize the film and our name, which just ended up being quite dramatic as a political documentary, I guess. The designer we used also makes the posters for a lot of the Hollywood productions and other huge Norwegian fiction films. Let's see. And at this point, I'd like to show you the trailer we ended up making.
Imagine killing more than 1,500 enemies in war without ever stepping foot on the battlefield.
We are at war with an organization that would kill as many Americans as they could if we did not stop them first.
The drones have changed everything. It's the defining weapon of the war on terror.
It's never been easier for an American president to carry out a killing operation at the ends of the earth.
We are safer because of our efforts. These strikes have saved lives.
I didn't really understand what it meant to kill at first. We sat in a box. We were the ultimate peeping Toms.
You never know who you're killing because you never actually see a face.
1,626 people were killed in the operations that I took part of.
How many of them do you think were innocent?
I'm the only one that really is vocal about it. It just blows my mind.
was an unbelievably profitable business.
The military has invested in video games as recruiting tools.
How do we find our 18X pilots? How do we identify these people early? I had no idea what I was in for. I wasn't even 20 years old at that point.
Dozens of highly skilled Al-Qaeda operatives have been taken off the battlefield.
The United States is violating one of the most fundamental rights of all, the right to life.
The truth is, the vast majority of people have no earthly idea what's happening here.
It is not justifiable killing unarmed, innocent civilians.
As a former RPA drone operator, I have concerns about how the drone community operates.
The U.S. has to explain what went wrong.
Drones have not caused a huge number of civilian casualties.
We've seen them make mistakes by the hundreds.
The rescuers would come in, and the CIA was coming back and bombing again.
I believe the United States of America must remain a standard bearer in the conduct of war.
It's just point and click.
So thank you, Tonje. I think it's a very impressive example to see the whole process and the development of this film, which started as a film about an issue that was really not in our focus. And through the involvement of the making of the film, I remember when we were applying at ARTE for the film, we were confronted with the question: who cares about this? You know, it's not an issue that will attract a lot of audience. And when we came out with the film, with the TV film, it was already different because the Snowden story was coming out before, and then it developed in a very wide way that you even went to the American Congress with the film. So it had really this big outreach, and it still goes on, I think.
It still goes on, yeah. Very soon, I think most high schoolers in Norway will have seen the film and met Brandon. So we've been touring with this amazing educational program in Norway for the last year, and it's still happening all through next year as well. So, and the way that Brandon touches the teenagers is very impressive, but also how the teenagers respond to the film and the questions and the engagements that we're seeing gives me a lot of hope. So.
And I think for documentary filmmakers like you and producers, I think it's a very good example how much time it can take, you know, through the development, financing, and then through the whole outreach campaign, and how well structured it has to be, and how well you have to team up with different people to face all these challenges from the different perspectives. When did you start to? When have you been in ASODOC? That was
2011.
11. Yeah. So. It's quite a time. So here we have a film where we were not aware about the impact of the issue, and we became aware of it. Julia, you are dealing with an issue that we are all confronted so much. It's about climate change, and we think, okay, climate change, we all know about it. And you found a very specific approach to it, so looking forward to hear more.
Yeah, great. Can I get this one? Thank you. So I'm going to talk to you about the feature documentary Before the Flood that I'm directing at the moment. That is, Bubeck Film is the production company behind it, and Dahr Media were co-producing it. And we're in production of the film at the moment, so it's not finished, but we're hoping to finish it by the end of this year. And the story of the film is about Kisilu, who's a Kenyan farmer who is fighting for his family's and his community's survival up against the increasing droughts, increasing storm and floods that is really harming their farmland and their lives. And the film follows Kisilu as he transformed from a farmer to more of an informal local leader and also a global activist. And it's told through our observational footage and Kisilu's own video diaries. And my motivation for making this film was that I really wanted to tell the story of the feeling of living at the front line of climate change, the human side of it. And I also wanted to challenge the stereotypes that media is often presenting from Africa with starving, desperate people just asking for help. Kisilu is not asking for help. He has started the fight, and he's inviting us to join his fight. So the making of the film started in 2010, and it was supposed to be like a short documentary, and we had funding of £2,000 from a Norwegian NGO called Spire. And we went to Kenya to film over one month time. And I asked Kisilu if I could give him a camera and he could also film some, because I thought that could give a deeper understanding. And he said yes, and I had no idea to know at that point that that would be the beginning of a 6-year-long collaboration between me and Kisilu, and also end up with a 90-minute feature film, which is now, it's going to be in 7 different languages. It's been on the ESEDOC training session. It's going to be on ARTE. It's a co-production with ARTE and ZDF. It's been selected for the Edit Lab Doc Incubator. And we're also going to work on it at Good Pitch, make a big outreach campaign together with Kisilu based on his ideas. For this presentation, I have selected some key moments in the process of making the film and 3 rough cut scenes that I want to show you, so that you can know more about how Kisilu took control over the camera and how he's been shaping the film, and how the film has changed Kisilu's life, and how we're now together working to make this really wide outreach campaign. And I want to start with I want to start by introducing you to Kisilu, and start with one of the first clips that he filmed himself, introducing himself, when he started using the camera in 2011. And this is also what is going to be the opening scene of the film. So if you can play the first, thanks.
I'll start with myself. I'm Kisilu Musia. This is my wife, Christine Waiwa Kisilu. There are some other 2. So I have a family of 9 members, all depending on me. And we all depend on family.
So this is one of Kisilu's first video diaries, and I'll show you another one later on showing some of the development he's been with his camera experience. And but I think it's useful for you to know as background information that before I met Kisilu, he has been to this government training program where he had learned about adaptation techniques for farmers to adapt to the climate change. And he was already kind of having this vision that he wanted to spread these techniques to other people in his community, and he really wanted to unite people so that they could stand stronger together and build a better future for their children. And over the month that we were there filming, our collaboration grew very strongly, and I was back and forward kind of also showing Kisilu how we were showing him some edit examples of how we were using his footage and our footage, and that was also a process where Kisilu kind of grew and also saw how this could saw more how it could be used towards an audience, because he's from a very remote area where they don't have, where you can travel far and then you'll have a television, but he doesn't have that much, didn't have that much connection to film from before. Yeah, so I want to show you another clip from after Kisilu had the camera for a month that will show you how he decided to start to talk to us as an audience. And the context of this video diary is that his house blew down in a very terrible storm. This is a screen grab from that. But as I told you in the introduction, Kisilu, he never gives up. And even with this being the fact that most men in Kisilu's area, they have already left for the city to search for jobs. They kind of given up farming and this life because of the challenges they're facing. But Kisilu refused to give up, and he gets help from a neighbor to rebuild the house. And what you're going to see is in this scene is Kisilu rebuilding the house, and that's with our observational footage, and then Kisilu with his video diary telling us how this event changed him. And the music in the clip is from Kisilu's church, just so that you know. If you can.
Feeling being in problems, and at the same time I have a new feeling. Now I know what it means to be helped as well as to be in a problem. Simple problems that are faced, I take them as an example of how my neighbor or my friend will be feeling. I've experienced problem, I've now experienced being helped, what it means. Surely I'm in a position now to help. The world's problems are now based on the climate change. And for sure, if that is what it is, then I can as well sacrifice myself in whatever way I can be requested to and a part to play. I am talking this through experience. It is through experience that I talk.
And I think in this video diary you can see how Kisilu has become very confident in front of the camera and with his own video diary, and how he's using it to tell the audience his vision and how he's changing and what kind of change he wants. And he's actually filming his own transformation, which I think is a very powerful storytelling tool. After a month in Kenya, I left back to Norway and I started editing the strong material that Kisilu had filmed and that we have filmed. And back in Norway, we completed a 40-minute documentary with the name Wind of Change. And the Norwegian NGO Spire that had helped with some of the funding for the film, they really loved the film and they did an amazing job getting it out to more than 30 different NGOs, and it was really getting spread. They were using it in their work very widely. And then Spire also wanted to invite Kisilu to Norway to speak at a major big conference in Norway, and they asked me what I thought about the idea. And I must admit, it took me some time to think about it, because I heard these stories before of people coming from this kind of life and coming to Norway, and a very rich country that Norway is, and actually starting to feel poor. And I knew Kisilu, he was not feeling poor at all. He felt he had a lot of resources and a lot of things to give, and he could change a lot. And I really wanted him to keep that self-feeling and not to mess up his balance in any way. But after a long thinking process, I realized that it's not my decision to make, it's Kisilu's call to decide what he wants to do. So Spire asked Kisilu, they invited him, and he was extremely eager and happy and said yes. So in November 2012, Kisilu came to Norway in the middle of a snowstorm, and he came to the capital in Norway, and he had before that journey, he had not even been to the capital in Kenya. It was extremely powerful when he went on the stage and he spoke in front of 600 people in Norway. And he was extremely, I would say, charismatic and strong. And I didn't know before that he was this kind of speaker and leader in a way. And Kisilu also told me that it was such a great experience for him to have so many, to just see that he could speak in front of all of this, and even professors and even politicians were there listening to him. And he said he got a lot of motivation from it. So after that, Kisilu returned back to Kenya, and I got a text from him saying that he had started to form a lot of these community group and self-help farmer groups and a lot of initiatives locally. And that actually screening the film to the people in his community had actually made them starting to listen to him and to his ideas. And I got extremely curious about this, and so in 2013 we went back to film more. So this is us coming back. And I was seeing Kisilu, and I saw him in the community as this very inspiring leader. And that was when I started to think about the good pitch opportunity. Maybe there would be possible to make like this outreach impact campaign. And I spoke to Kisilu about it, and we started having this dream that we would actually make this campaign that could be built on Kisilu's ideas, and he could be going further, not just in his community, but actually even, as far as possible was our goal. Okay, but up to now I've shown you how I talked about Kisilu as this strong person, and I've shown you how he's kind of filming himself as a strong person. But what I think is also important to know is that Kisilu is also filming the big challenges he's facing and also his inner dilemmas. For him, it is very important to tell what he sees as a truth, and he says, "It's better that the audience see the truth, even if it can be embarrassing for me, for example, to show that I can't pay my children's school fee, because the audience need to see the real truth to understand how climate change is like. That is the only way they will see the sense of joining in fighting and bring back the normal weather that can bring a better future for me and my children." The background of the scene I'm going to show you now, it's from 2014, and there's just been a new drought in Kisilu's, that has hit Kisilu's family and community, and it's really hard for Kisilu to keep the groups and the unity going, because people are not thinking that long term, they're thinking about the meals of tomorrow, which is quite natural. And at the same time, a really big flood comes and destroys most of Kisilu's crops. So Kisilu takes his camera with him alone, away from the family, and down to the farm field, and he makes this video diary to tell us how he feels about this, that it's so hard to create unity in a way.
More insects have done a lot of work. An indication that they have harvested enough for themselves despite the fact that they are very small. They have power in coming together and work together. If insects are deciding for their lives, I wonder why human beings are not doing it. It is an indication that surely we are not serious with our lives. We are not serious.
And to me, this scene shot by Kisilu is the strongest scene in the whole film. And I think it says something I have actually not seen in any films before. It tells us the psychological crisis of living with something abstract, like an abstract beast of climate change hitting you all the time with new things, and how it's so hard to unite people in the fight of something that's this abstract. And it's so much more powerful that it's coming directly from Kisilu than anything we could have shot with our observational cameras in any way. And with all of this happening, I was updating Spire, the Norwegian NGO, about everything. And in 2015, they wanted to invite Kisilu to the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris, where world leaders were meeting, so that he could share his story. And Kisilu said yes. And once again, he went there with his camera, and we went there with our camera to film his journey. And at the conference, he spoke at several events, and he screened the film, and he got interviewed on news by Al Jazeera, and he really managed to raise the voice of farmers fighting climate change. However, the conference was not just a success to Kisilu. You'll have to see the film when it's finished to see more of the challenges as well. So now the film it's finished. Oh, it's not finished yet. It's soon finished. Sorry. But the distribution and the impact campaign is just about to begin. And in October this year, Kisilu, the film producer, and me, we are going to Kenya to pitch this at the Good Pitch, where we're going to try to get funding to really make this outreach campaign that Kisilu has been wanting. Yeah, and now I'm coming to an end in the presentation. One thing that has also been very important has been the contribution by the great production company for this film, Banyak Films, because they already knew from before very well how to make these kind of impact campaigns together with films, and they have really helped to grow this project into the feature film that it is today. And they know how, just their knowledge and input, they come on board in 2014, and that has been really also something that has made the project and the impact grow so much. So if you want to follow the film, please follow us on the website and Twitter and everything. That's it.
Thank you, Julia, for this story of empowerment. I have the feeling it's a double empowerment. It's empowerment of Kisilu using this camera and using the film to tell his story. But it's also a story of empowerment of yourself, who started with a small idea, and now it's almost there. A project, a film with 90 minutes, with a hopefully very successful outreach campaign. So thank you for this. Arash, you were confronted with, or you were fascinated also by very resistant people who were developing a lot of fantasy to cry out and to stand up and to change things. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you very much. As I said before, I came to Austria with my parents when I was 9 years old from Iran. And we were political refugees, and since more than 35 years, we could not go back and see the rest of the family. So this issue is, of course, defining, in a way, also our emotions and our lives, and if we want it or not, it's reflected in our work. And when 2009 this green movement in Iran started, this protest movement, which was very surprising, and 2-3 million people were suddenly on the streets and so on, you can imagine that this was extremely exciting for us. We were thinking, now they are done, you know, that now people will go on the streets, kick the dictators out, and we can finally go back. It didn't happen like this, and the Western media stopped talking about this protest the moment Michael Jackson died. We will never forgive him. The fact that he died in the middle of our possible revolution, which ended the reportings, because the protest, of course, continued for several weeks and months, but it didn't end the way we all hoped. But it was a very important start. The Iranians are always in this competition with the Arab people, and they became very angry. I'm exaggerating, of course. They became very angry when the Arab Spring suddenly started, because they didn't manage to topple their dictators, but suddenly a lot of Arab dictators fell, and this whole process started. For us, we started, when this green movement started, my brother and me, we were very excited, and the only resource that came out of Iran was little mobile videos, and we're talking about 2009, so the smartphones were not that developed, HD material was not there, but this small material was popping up on the internet, on YouTube. We started to collect them, and first we wanted to make a film about Iran, because all the protests in the world didn't start yet. Soon after that, we realized that we have already collected 4,000 videos, because we saw that the material on the internet is disappearing sometimes. We didn't know if the people who put it up, who uploaded it, deleted them, or if YouTube deleted them, or someone else. So we decided to collect it, download it, and keep it as an archive. And that was where the whole idea of the cross-media thing started, because we realized we cannot use this 4,000 hours, 4,000 clips in a film, but people should have an access to that. So this was the starting idea. Then all the protest movements started to happen in the world. The Arab Spring, the Spanish Indignados movement, Occupy Wall Street, Famine movement in France, in Ukraine, the Gezi movement in Turkey, and so on. So for the first time in history, you could observe something different, something new that you can call it, it's like a horizontal rebellion. Because classical revolutions, they were like vertical. You had a leader, the leader had his or her people, then the first thing to do was to spread with leaflets the messages, or with documents. This was very dangerous, and then to conquer radio stations or TV stations to spread the message. But now we had a horizontal movement. Everyone was with the mobile phone, a reporter, human rights activists, and a radio and TV station. So this was very interesting for us, and we started to observe these movements and to see if there is a common thing. And the common thing was that they were mainly non-violent movements. Even in Syria, the first 6 to 8 months was a non-violent movement. So that was the connecting element, and then we started the project, and we decided to make a project called Everyday Rebellion that is collecting creative forms of non-violent protest. And I will go quickly through the presentation and show you some stuff. So this is my brother and me, last picture taken in Iran before we had to leave. And the whole project is a cinema and TV documentary to tell the stories of the activists. We produced a lot of material It was 1,500 hours, so you can imagine editing out of that 110-minute film was crazy, but anyway. It was even more hard to edit a 52-minute version for ARTE, but that's what you have to do. Then the online platform and the mobile app. So the idea was to gather methods of nonviolent protest and civil disobedience through the movements that were happening at that time, the Arabian and Iranian uprisings, Occupy 15M Syria, Ukraine, Turkey, and so on. Of course, all of this, our project was finished in 2013. We had a world premiere at Copenhagen Docs, and the Ukrainian movement happened after that and so on. But the good thing was we had the online platform and we could continue our storyline on that platform. The film came out in 2013. And the good thing was that the film developed to a tool for activists. For us, for my brother and me, we come from filmmaking, but of course we have this political background of being refugees and so on. But it was very important for us not to make an activistic film without judging it. But the problem of most of the activistic films or activist film, I don't know how you say it, is that they are for the activists themselves, and you cannot convince. They are already convinced. You know this problem. We make documentaries, but the people who watch them are those who are anyway convinced, and we don't reach our goal to change the world. So we wanted to change. We wanted to try to contribute to that. And one thing was that we stepped over the border of being neutral filmmakers. We said, okay, fuck it. We don't want to be the neutral filmmakers who observe and this and that, and we don't want to say we have to keep distant. You know, that's like very classical ethical things in documentary filmmaking. But in reality, how can we say that we want to keep distant if we spend 3, 4, 5 years of our life to show a film, to show a problem in the world? So we decided we will step over that and make a film that is taking sides. It's not neutral, it's not journalistic, it's not something that could be as a reportage on TV and you have to ask both sides. Because what's the point? Should we go to the dictators and ask them if they think that non-violent rebellions are good or bad? No. And always the question comes up, what is it's a hippie dream and the world cannot be changed with that. I mean, you can ask always the opposite. What did violence do to the world? And no one can answer that. And it's not a hippie dream, and that was something that really encouraged us to continue, because in the last 7-10 years there have been a lot of research made which proved, which analyzed the protest forms of the protests of the last 100 years and proved empirically that non-violent uprisings are 2/3 more successful than violent uprisings. And the last real change, a country where change was made through violence and it led to democracy, I think it's more than 30 years ago, South Korea. So we were convinced that this is the right thing, and we continued to shoot in these different places and collect material. So let's watch the trailer.
Children, we don't have much time. Let's get right to it. It's the end of the world.
Somos personas normales y corrientes. Somos como tú. Estamos preocupados e indignados por el panorama político, económico y social.
What is going on? There's a lot of ways to take space.
Protesting. And what I do is give people again hugs. All you need is a hug.
think there's been more than one time in history when clowns have brought down governments. It's classic David versus Goliath. Small one wins.
We transformed our naked body to instrument of women's fight.
There's never been a movement where people haven't had to go to jail. So the question, are we going to jail on their terms or our terms?
That's ultimately the only way we can really fundamentally change the world that we're in, is to rethink it. And you can't rethink it if you think in the old ways.
We will never stop.
Creo que puedo cambiarlo. Sal con nosotros. Es tu derecho.
Thanks. Okay. So that was the film. Then, before the film was finished, we finished the online cross-media platform, and that's a content platform with emphasis on video. It's mainly self-produced, but also crowdsourced. So we ask people to send us their protest tactics, methods, and we edit something out of that, or we make an article on it, on the platform. There are instructional videos, checklists, downloads, photographs, everything that fits. And we developed together with some of the major activists in that field 21 main chapters, or let's say different protest forms, like humor and activism, international actions, and so on. So in this way, we can contribute to the whole process in an educational way too. So if someone wants to be informed more, they can go on the platform and check that. Of course, the financing is always a problem, but I will not go into that now, because we're here more about talking about the storytelling. But we did 20 pieces of little web clips for ARTE in order to start the whole project. And 10 pieces on also for another ARTE department called Generation Revolution, because while we were shooting, and you know all this, when you shoot a lot of material, and we said, okay, we will be in Jordan, we will be in Egypt, we will be in all these places. There will be a lot of material that we can collect, and it's a win-win situation for everyone. We can collect it. We know that it will not be part of the final cinema documentary, but we can make portraits of activists and edit them. The security stuff is of course also very important if you want to step over your you just being a filmmaker that makes films and moves on, or if you want to contribute to the movements, which we decided we do. So we cooperated with other people, and that's also some advice that I can give is, if you want to make a project which wants to change something, you can be sure that there are hundreds of other projects that have the same goal. So do not do everything from the beginning. You think you have to do it yourself. Go and find people and groups who are out there and who did something much better than you would do it. So finding crazy technicians like or artists like the guys from Callnet, two Swiss artists who, for example, created communication software called Callnet, with which you can communicate without internet if you download it on your device, and you can download it from other people and so on. So we found great people who were, of course, on our side. We didn't have to pay to develop these things, and this way the whole platform became bigger and bigger. And yes, and we started with 24 creative resistance tips. And this video clips were seen by Syrian activists. They contacted Sergej Popovic, the guy who was giving these tips. He was part of the Serbian movement, and they suddenly contacted him and said that they would like to use these videos in their fight in Syria, but they need to subtitle them because they were in English. And we said, okay, great, you can have them. The only deal is if you subtitle them in Arabic, can we have them also in Arabic? And they said, of course. And so this way, it was a very good way of collaborating together and having the stuff translated. And then, yeah, let me show you 1 second the platform. So if you go to, where is it? This is the platform, everydayrebellion.net. Of course, us as filmmakers, we are not internet gurus, so we didn't know. First it was everydayrebellion.com, and then the people said, yeah, you cannot make .com because people think it's a commercial thing. We never thought about these details. I mean, it's not a detail, but now I know it, so we decided to change it to net. Because we don't make money with this, and it's very important, and of course it's very difficult to finance it. We need donations and stuff, and we did also a Kickstarter campaign for it. But anyway, quickly to the platform. This is a platform. We decided that it should move a little bit because otherwise it will be boring for people. They will think they have to read a lot. So you can chill and look, and when something comes up that you are interested, you click on it. Most of it is video.
Very simple.
Yeah, you have to think about these things. So here are the protest tips. It's a protest tip section. You have here a lot of videos, for example, how to be a feminine activist, what to do, like Turkish guys explain what to do when you get tear gas into your eyes. The yes men explaining how to hire unwilling actors like the police, how to celebrate your success. So a lot of videos where you get in 2, 3, 4 minutes little ideas and so on. So, or how to occupy a house in a good way. Then we have these method sections that I explained. You can go and look at it and read it, and then the videos that are connected to this method are popping up. And then you have this word map section, where the more stuff we have from one country, the bigger this bubble becomes. So one of our goals is, of course, to have protests from everywhere in the world. So if you have any friends or any people who have, for example, we need some more stuff from Russia and so on, it would be great if you can contact us. And you see here, like the film is something at the end. It's not so important. It's very important if you make such a project like this that you make clear for the audience you don't want to sell a film here. You're really honestly interested in that subject. And that's why the whole platform is not a website for the film. It's a website for the idea. Yes, and if people want to take part, they can upload their material. And of course the right stuff is always a different thing that we have to think about. Yeah, I cannot go to it longer because time is running. I'm sorry, I could talk for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours about this, but anyway, you got an idea of that quickly. I will finish the presentation here. There are the apps. There is one app that we did. It's a downloadable app where you can collect street art. You can collect protests, slogans or whatever. You take a picture of it, or we ask activists or street artists to send this to us. These pictures are geotagged, and you can upload it, and you can, for example, these are slogans. We will edit the slogans, and you can use the slogans also for other places. So you can, for example, take the slogan, "Our power is their fear," and go to your parliament building where you are not allowed to go in front and spray it, and you take a picture And this power, this slogan is you can match it into your picture on the wall, make it bigger or smaller, and make the transparency different so it looks real, and you post it. And the policeman doesn't know how it happened. So, and the app is free in dictatorships and fake democracies, and in other countries you have to pay $1.99. We're updating it now, so it doesn't work if you upload it now, but do it later. So, and then we did a Kickstarter to get some money, and that was very helpful because it was after the film was finished, after the platform was finished, which made the whole process very difficult because we couldn't give something to the people except posters and some ideas that we had. But it was very interesting for the outreach because people realized that we really are honest about the whole thing. The film was gone, everything was gone. We just wanted to continue the platform, which was something that could be helpful for the world. And yeah, we have a new project. It's called Free Lunch Society. It's about unconditional basic income, where we will have a different approach. We want people to answer 4 or 5 questions in the beginning, and this way we understand what kind of type of people they are, and then lead them through a journey through that thing. And in the end, you realize how your own behavior changed during the process of going through that cross-media project. Time is running. I have to go to the airport. It's disappointing that I cannot talk longer. I thank you for everything. We could talk also about different things, but let's see.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Thank you, Arash. We all. So, just for all of you, Arash, he will not run away from us, but he has to reach his flight. Yes. So he will leave us in a few minutes. But I would like to open up immediately for your questions. Oh, great. So there are 2 microphones. Please wait until you have a microphone. We will try to give it an order. So there was 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's start with them. So let's start with you. No, yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, you and...
Thank you very much. It was a really, really interesting session. I have a question around really the differentiation between outreach and impact. You've all talked a lot about outreach, and I wondered if each of you could say briefly what you anticipated or what you hoped the actual impact would be. In other words, I'm talking about change. What kind of change were you looking for? Behavioural change or whatever that might be. Maybe we should start with at the end because you have to run away.
I think one of the things that I learned from the activists was that if we have this goal of changing the world, we should keep the goals smaller. Otherwise, we can only be depressed.
Very true.
And for me, for example, the change. Of course, I cannot say what change did we make. But when I got, for example, last 1.5 years ago, suddenly on Facebook, messages from the Hong Kong Occupy movement, Occupy umbrella, suddenly they send us pictures with Everyday Rebellion's poster in Chinese and wrote us that it's great. They translated the whole film into Chinese and they are playing the film every night in open air for the protesters. That was for me, I said, okay, now I can die because everything is fine. I did some change. And also we did a protest action in Austria on a national day where, you know, the tanks are there and the military is presenting themselves. And we made a nonviolent protest with fake blood. And normally, you know, families are coming and bringing their children to sit on the tanks and so on, which is absurd. And we made something with fake blood, and then we said the slogan that you should not bring your children to such things. And then there was a child who came to the activists. Of course, a lot of people were disturbed by this, but one child came and said, "Yes, I will not come again anymore. I don't like this." So this was something. Yeah, that's it from my side. So it's we see like. We get a lot of messages and a lot of things on a personal level, and yeah, if we can change one person, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're shaping and making the impact campaign right now, so it's not done yet. But I can say that when I started the film in 2010, was a bit more naive than today, maybe. I actually thought that because we made one film already, and I thought like if we can really get this out, that can really change a lot. People can see how it's really like, and but yeah, that's too big of a goal, I think, and especially with climate change, because as you said in the introduction, people know about the issue already, and when people know about it, and it's already been a lot debated, it's really, you can only move so much, kind of, or but that's what we're going to try to move internationally. And then I think, but where we have even more potential in a bigger change, I think is what Kisilu is going to do locally, because I think that's where there hasn't been these kind of films, and the work that Kisilu is doing hasn't been done a lot. So I think that's where the change is going to be the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, we set out to with a very ambitious goal of stopping the U.S. drone strikes, which is a little too early to say if we actually succeeded on. But I think that, you know, for one of the main goals we had was to make a film that could be seen by a massive audience, and that I think we have succeeded with. The States was maybe our biggest challenge, and to reach a big U.S. audience was, you know, definitely our biggest goal. And we ended up getting out on Netflix. It's also shown on Fusion, which is a broadcaster there. And when we released the film theatrically in the States, we had a very magic thing happen where several other drone pilots decided to come and join us in releasing the film, and we had an historic whistleblower event in New York when we released the film, and we worked very closely with Bertha Foundation and Intercept. They had just released their drone papers right then. So we ended up getting a pretty big media coverage in the US when we released the film, and we actually got pretty good reviews in the States too, which I was kind of nervous about. And all of a sudden now I'm getting phone calls from friends of my daughters saying that they talked about the film in their high schools. So that to me, you know, shows that, I mean, the film has traveled. We've shown it to the Norwegian Parliament, it's been shown to EU Parliament members, and also been screened for people in the UN. So, I mean, the film has traveled quite a bit. For me personally, though, I think that the educational aspect of it is the most exciting, and to show this film to so many teenagers has been incredibly rewarding.
And also because I think this is so impressive that finally at the beginning it was impossible to find one drone pilot. It took you a long time.
Yes.
And then when the film was released in the US, and there were suddenly other drone pilots who never talked about this issue before and their experience, which was traumatic, they suddenly came out with their stories, and I think that is really something.
Yeah, no, I think that also the new information that they brought to the table, you know, has shed a lot of insight into how broken the drone program really is, from the bottom to the top. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I mean, we released the film in the U.S. On Netflix in February, so it's still you know, quite new.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had a second question here, and then third, and then fourth.
Okay, this is a slightly provocative question. I don't know if anyone was in the Channel 4 interview with Michael Moore yesterday.
Nope.
So obviously he was talking about storytelling for change, and he was quite provocative. He said we as documentary makers need to be more subversive, more humorous, and take more risks. And I wonder whether that is something you agree with or disagree with.
I don't know what is provocative in that question. It's, of course, we did it, we all did it. She explained that you were afraid of getting killed by whoever. We were nearly several times.
I think he's talking about the tone.
About the tone? Yeah. I mean, fun is very, like, humor is for our work, and what I experienced was the most important thing, and let's say he's right. It's easy for him to say it. with this position. But yeah.
I think we all would wish that there is more humor in documentary. I mean, that's what we all are looking for, because we are all missing humor in documentary, but it's the most difficult things to have humor in documentary. I have the feeling, because if not, there would be much more around.
Yeah, the problem is if you stand in front of someone who lost his whole family through violence and tell him, please laugh and have fun in your protest, and it's, then you feel embarrassed. So we have to understand these people and respect their fear and their problems in order to connect with them, and then be able to maybe make them one day tell the stories maybe in a more humorous way.
And I also think, sorry,
no, go ahead.
But you need very different storytelling for different people as well. It reaches people in different ways. Like on climate change, like the inconvenient truth, talking about statistics, I think that inspires some people. And then this is more a human side, and I think you need the different ways of telling the stories.
I mean, I've personally been very inspired by Michael Moore, and I think some of the things that he's saying about don't think about that you should make like the best, documentary, and he definitely helped sort of blow the whole like objective journalistic approach to documentary out of the water. Yeah, thank God. But also like his focus on like let's try to tell the best story possible has been and make the best film possible has been just sort of this this thing that I think is very important in my work, at least, as far as what kind of audience do you want to reach. If you want to reach a huge audience, and for us personally, like, we worked with a lot of activist groups during the production, but when we were going to release the film, I mean, it was important for us that the film was just a film. We didn't want to come out through activist platforms in the States especially, because then automatically we would fall just in the conspiracy leftist category. So for us to be able to get out on Netflix and to have a theatrical release that sort of stood separately was important.
Hello, my name is Jana Bayer. I'm studying interactive media at the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg in Germany. And my question is for Arash. I would love to hear more about the impact you generated with the interactive parts of your project. Is it like you reach another audience, or is it the same audience as your film? Is it how many people have you reached? How are the statistics? How are you continuing? What are your learnings? Thanks.
Too much for 5 minutes that I have left, but I will make it very quickly. So yes, of course, it's a different way of storytelling. On the platform, it's more a service to activists, to people. And what we heard from activists from, for example, in the Gezi movement in Turkey and other places, they say that it's for them a kind of a positive drug to be on the platform, because every time when they are depressed, they go on the platform, check out some videos, realize that there are other activists, that there is a lot of ideas that they can copy or change. And the statistics that we found out was interesting, that people stay on the platform more than half an hour. So 34 minutes, which is quite long. Those who are interested stay on it very long. And that was for us a proof that the content is working. And the outreach, I mean, for example, the people used the film in Mexico to tour around when there were these kind of very brutal things happening. They wanted to change people and so on. It's very difficult to measure it, I mean, except what I said. But I leave some business cards here if someone wants to contact me, and we can talk on Skype longer.
Thank you. So there was 4 and 5. Okay. Yeah.
Hi there. Thanks for that. I just have a question about outreach and social impact and the creative process and the art of filmmaking. My question is, I suppose, for all of you, and it relates to, when do you feel is an appropriate time to start thinking about outreach and impact? Is it before production? during post, after post? And then my follow-up question to that is, how difficult is it, after you've spent so much time making the film, to then spend the time to get it out there? Not just distributing to TV or cinema, but other outreach options, like schools and education, that sort of thing. Thank you.
Yeah,
First question is very quickly. The earlier the better. When you started to think about the project, you start to think about who could be the audience, because you can use them as ambassadors and people who have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, I mean that's our mission. That's the lesson that we would like to tell also in ESODOC when we are going through the workshop. So impact producing outreach, thinking about outreach strategy. That is our aim, to start to think about it from the beginning of the development. Always think about it already together. And I mean, it's amazing, you know, the specialization of people, of producers, especially here in the UK, who are really specializing on developing impact strategies. I mean, it's spreading through the US, UK, everywhere, and I think it's a sign that more and more people become aware that this is really a fundamental issue in production, and you have to think about it also financial wise, because you need money for that. So if you start to think about it very late, there will be no money anymore for it. So it's always good to have it from the beginning. That would be my.
No, absolutely. But I do think it's so exciting right now, because there is a whole new field almost in documentary that just deals with impact and outreach. And I would highly just recommend, you know, to try to almost set up your own impact team that's part of the production that kind of works parallel with you, because it is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time, you know, but I think most of us that make documentaries, we make or we tell stories because we have something important that we feel like we want to say, and also maybe to engage an audience. And with the tools and with the knowledge that's now coming, and also the financing that's coming for the impact campaigns, that's now much more possible to do. So. I see it. I think the outreach and the impact campaign has been maybe was one of the most valuable processes in this. So.
And I think Good Pitch. I mean, maybe you can say 2 sentences about Good Pitch in Africa, in Kenya.
Yeah. So through the through the Good Pitch, we're gonna pitch in front of a panel of different people that we hope can help us both support it financially, but also collaboration partners, so that we don't have to push it all the way ourselves. So I think that's a way of also creating this team that will help you also with outreach afterwards.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. That's you. Maybe 2. It depends on how long, because we have to be really on time. Thank you, Arash.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, but you have also 3 more minutes.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I think, Tonje, you just started to answer my question. I mean, my question was also directed to Arash, because it's to do with, you know, obviously, I found, first of all of you have made some really amazing, impressive work, and I'm very positively affected by it. But what I would say is, it's interesting to see how you made the films part of a bigger project, in a sense. Like, you know, your objective is to, you know, either stop the drone strikes or enable positive activism. And so the question was about the finance, you know, the process of finding funds and financiers that would help you doing these projects, not just financing the film, but also financing the outreach, and also financing the platform in the case of the Rebellion platform, which is obviously something that needs to be sustained and maintained and so on. So how do you go about this kind of bigger picture?
Yeah, the financing question is always the least fun one to answer. I mean, it just takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of, I mean, I don't know percent-wise how much we've spent on financing the different parts of the film, but definitely there's a lot of applications to fill out, a lot of meetings to set up, and building a network. I can't stress how important that has been for us throughout the whole process. I mean, or people we met during the development of the film ended up coming on board as we had our whistleblower event in New York when we were releasing the film. So, some of the first people we actually talked to and met ended up like making it or realizing everything happening at the very end. The Bertha Foundation is amazing when it comes to outreach. BritTalk with Good Pitch is part of that, definitely. But there's also a lot of funds in Europe and in the States that fund specifically impact and outreach now. I also think it's very valuable as a documentary filmmaker just to sort of go through and start to build an audience when you are developing a film. We're doing that with our next project because I think it just builds awareness and you have a community around the issue and around the film, and that also helps with financing and building your network further, So. Yeah, it's new times, new platforms. Important to just kind of like open up and figure out what to or how to play this game.
Okay, I think we can stop on this quite positive, optimistic ending. We close the session here. Thank you very much for coming. I hope it gave you some input and that we could share that they could share their experience with you. Thank you very much.